Good evening, this is Nerds to Human, and welcome to this brand new style of video. We are looking at AI only historical battles, looking first and foremost at the Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD, a monumental battle if ever there was one to start off a new series. And the Battle of Teutoburg Forest is one of our historical battles, one of many actually, because back in the days of classic Rome Total War, they did enjoy the historical battles. I always liked this. I mean, for me, this is my first Total War game, and this really got me interested in history. I eventually went on to study ancient history, lots of Greeks and Romans in that, and I would say this had quite a heavy influence on that. So it's a shame they don't do much of this anymore, but we're going to see how well today the AI gets on with their own battles, because some of these are quite tricky. Some like Asculum they'll probably be able to win. Teutoburg Forest, I'm not holding up too much hope for the AI on this, but we'll see how they do. But when we do these, we will look at the history, so we'll take in some of the context right here. So by 9 AD, the frontier of the Roman world would lay along the natural moat of the Rhine. To the north, the barbarians lurked in their dark forests, according to the Romans anyway. And of course, they plotted the destruction of all things civilized. However, Emperor Augustus, yes, it's the time of Emperor Augustus, so really much still in the time of Roman expansion, albeit in the time of Augustus it would start to halt a little bit. There'd be the odd little foray across the borders, creating new territories, like Britannia would come in the following century. But yes, this battle does see the Roman Empire start to slow down the expansion it saw in the previous century. So Emperor Augustus was, however, absolutely convinced that the comforts of civilized living could be brought to the German tribes, and he pushed for full provincial development of the German interior. However, there seemed to be a faint prospect of ever bringing civilization and its comforts to the awkward Germans. This may have been behind the decision to appoint Quintilius Varus, yes, Publius Quintilius Varus, I'll have you know, as governor of the province. He'd been governor of Africa and Syria before. Syria, of course, on the Parthian borders, that's a tough gig. And the fact that he was still being given gigs afterwards suggests that he'd done a pretty good job. But I think he was very much seen as an administrator, someone who could go to the Germans and convince them that, yes, the Roman life was going to be worth it for them. He wasn't really seen as like the best soldier in the empire. Indeed, if that's what it's going to say here, the man was an able administrator, but not a very good soldier. Perhaps harsh, perhaps given the way this battle goes. Spoilers, sorry. Yeah, perhaps that is fair. He was civilian, and with a civilian's mission of collecting taxes, conscripting soldiers, and establishing Roman law. Perhaps Roman efficiency would win over the Germans. Oh, the irony. Oh, the sweet, sweet 2,000 year later irony. The German tribes, on the other hand, were equally convinced that the comforts of Rome were probably very nice, but not the Roman government and the taxes that seemed to go along with them. There was little money to pay taxes because their barter economy doesn't need money, and free warriors saw conscription as slavery, and the Roman law was completely barbaric to them. Why was it right to go around imprisoning people and flogging them when a blood feud settled the dispute properly? Yeah, I'm not convinced on either fronts there, but we'll continue. Varus established his main camp somewhere on the Weser. Best guess is place it somewhere near modern Minden. But as winter approached, Varus and his army and the camp followers pulled back towards winter quarters in the south. This is the opportunity that the Germans had been waiting for. Arminius, their hidden leader. Yes, Arminius was captured. He was a hostage as a 10-year-old from an earlier battle. And he would grow up a Roman citizen, go to Roman military education, and obviously would understand the real strengths and weaknesses of the Romans. And indeed, that would be key here on this day. And the route they were looking to take was established. Yes, when the Romans were on march, the route that they were looking to establish, he disappeared. He disappeared. I mean, officially he left to muster the auxiliaries. But obviously, as he did that, he took a good chunk of the Roman force with him. Some say up to a quarter. I'm guessing if he's coming to muster, he's probably running off with a chunk of cavalry. It certainly weakened the Romans' ability to scout effectively. And obviously, he was well trusted by the Romans. So this, of course, would be a key moment in the planned ambush. The attacks by the wild men of the German forests would begin. So we'll have a quick look at the armies here. We have Varus himself, a couple early Roman legionnaires, there's another one there, some praetorians, some legionaries. Yeah, we've got some urban cohort as well, not the worst army in the world. Some Roman archers, not sure how useful they'll be in this battle. Germans, on the other hand, okay, the experience is similar. And as I say, whilst this is obviously the Roman military machine, whilst these Germans weren't sort of conscripted by, you know, their king or anything like that, they weren't inexperienced. They were still, you know, seasoned soldiers, and that is reflected here. Those archers are brutal, by the way. You want to mop those up, AI. Berserkers here as well, and yes, of course, there's the second ambush that's going to come for the Romans later. So, okay, we're going to play a medium because whilst it is AI, I'm just going to tell the AI what to do. So the game, by playing a medium, will effectively not get the buffs. It's going to be AI versus AI. So that's the fairest way of doing this. So I think it's time to head on into battle.
This is the year 9 AD. The place, Germania, beyond the Empire's border. This is the army of Quintilius Varus, sent north by Augustus to pacify the Germans. Guided by a trusted local chieftain, Arminius, the legion is heading back to winter camp. But life on the frontier can be treacherous, brutal, and short. Thanks to Arminius, the Romans are marching into danger. Hidden in the forest, there's an army of savage German warriors, fired up and thirsty for Roman blood. As the danger becomes obvious, Varus gallops to the head of the column. He has to get his men back to the fort before sunset. Once darkness falls, the Germans will be able to kill them at will. This is a chance for Varus to prove that he has the right stuff. That he is a noble Roman, and a noble Roman general at that. If he isn't, he'll be a noble Roman corpse by sunset, and no one will get home. The camp is in sight. One last push by the Romans should see them home, but without enough survivors, this will be a black day for Rome and a massive victory for the barbarians.
Well, into battle we go, and by we I mean the AI. So we'll select the group and we'll click a little AI assistance button here, and well, we've already taken some losses to the archers in this early legionary cohort, so not the best starting situation, although we do have the AI giving some advice for itself. So what do you have to say? You're not saying anything, at least I can't hear him. Germans are closing in, regroup your forces quickly and get at least 100 men to the fort of Deliso before sunset, or all will be lost. Yes, indeed. We don't just have to kill them all. We actually need to get ourselves over to the fort here, and we need to capture it. And I slightly, well, it's a bit jumpy. Some interesting graphical glitches going on. But yes, we have ourselves a little town / fort over here that we need to capture and hopefully avoid being killed by the graphical glitches as we go. So head back over to Varus. We need to make our way through the inevitable second ambush over on that route, but for now it's not looking too hot. So with them under AI control, you can see when it goes this kind of coppery red colour that is now under AI control, and we'll see what they do. These Roman archers are going to get slaughtered by the dogs. In some ways, well, it is what it is. Those archers, I'm not sure they're going to provide an awful lot of good in this battle. Maybe they will actually. To be fair, there's a lot of units without armours or shields, so actually maybe keeping the archers alive is a very good move. Once the dogs are set on them, it's wow, he went down instantly. Varus, you're supposed to fall on your sword, not right. Well, he got himself trapped by berserkers instantly. That's not particularly good as a starting point. Now I was going to say, we're in a column here, so what you want to do is pick your battles correctly. They've got these berserkers just pinned by almost all of their good units here. Legionary, Praetorians, and urban cohort. Fine, they'll win that, but they'll take way too many losses. Yeah, we are going to miserably fail. What he's trying to set up over here. Interesting. Yeah, what he really wants to do, of course, is get the general to charge into anything that's not the front of these spears. Oh, the AI is not having a good day of it here, although the German AI certainly is. Okay, you know what, this looks like a miserable failure straight off the bat, doesn't it? So as I say, they're going to win this, but you need to get enough troops alive. 100 troops back over towards the fort there. And I would say, yeah, pinning them with one unit is perfectly fine. Get the general to slam into the rear of them. And the legionary cav, they're somewhere, they're still alive. Well, we can still make good use of these guys. Bit of a flanking manoeuvre again. And maybe take care of the archers in the hills, which is what I think they were doing. And then help clear out a unit. Good, that's how you're supposed to use a cavalry AI. Took them a bit of time. Bit late to the old party there, but that at least has largely cleared off this first little ambush. And indeed, this is where the real battle kind of saw itself, to be fair. They'd have to clear off this early ambush, and then obviously from that point they realise they're in trouble. They need to march through the day and into the night, and it's really in the night march where the further ambush and the complete destruction would take place. I guess what we're seeing here in this battle represented... We've got a wedge. Brilliant. What we're seeing in this battle represented, I suppose, in the fort is trying to make it to the safe place in time. We'll just speed up this early part of the encounter because it looks like it's largely done here. They won't have triggered the next ambush just yet. There's a few scraps. Seeing the game, the AI really wants to set themselves up here in this position. I suspect there'll be some archers coming to shoot at them very soon. Some hounds left. At what they're struggling at here by trying to set up is the timer. And that's what makes... In some ways this is going to be impossible for the AI to actually win, because they're not going to prioritise the time aspect of this enough. They don't really have the kick up the arse that they're probably going to need in this battle. The time is significant because we've got to go and take the plaza. It's 3 minutes to go and change that over by itself, and obviously you need to get there first as well as clear off the Germans. Actually, the first time I ever played this as a kid, I don't know how old I was, 12, 13, something like that. I remember getting to the plaza, holding the plaza, but I ran out of time before the plaza timer ticked over, so I lost for that reason, which is quite frustrating, and the AI does not seem to be taking that time into much consideration, so I might have to give them a little poke. Seems the AI is a bit fixated on staying there. I'm just going to send my column onwards, and I'll put them under assistance once again. Maybe I'll just give them a poke to sort of start moving into this direction. How are you doing, sir? They're at least moving now. Interesting. They're going to start walking into the next trap, of course. They've decided to only move here, which is the slight problem that they're taking their time to get everyone into position. Now the Cav here are doing a very nice job. Let's just follow them into battle. But, oh, they've just bumped into Arminius. Okay, so taking on the archers, by all means sensible. But yes, taking on Arminius himself. There's only 9 of them, by the way. Quite easy to take him out if you are playing this yourself. Probably a good idea as well to snipe him off. But, yeah, ideally you'd have lots of your general at this point. He'd be pretty much undamaged, but that is not how things currently are. Indeed, these legionnaires are, well, they're not looking good, are they? There's very, very little left. These guys are being pinned by some other units, only some axemen, but they don't have enough cavalry to do this. They've got the legionaries stuck with the general. The general himself is long since dead. Let's go back to the miserable dead man who doesn't look the same. And the AI is really struggling with this. They're pretty much already gone, to be honest. I'm just going to speed it up. We'll play it through. You know what? I want to see what happens if a second time doing it, if they don't get the general killed immediately, because that was a little bit ridiculous, to be honest. I don't think they'll manage to pull it off every time. So as they slowly get the last few of them killed, let's give them a second go this time. This time maybe the general... Crushing defeat. Maybe this time the general will actually manage to survive. Well, it's take 2, and it's interesting because I obviously skipped all of the intro there, and this time we're not already hit by the dogs. They've got an opportunity to actually, not lose half of these 2 units here, which does give an advantage to the AI on this occasion. That's an interesting little... Is it a bug? I'd say it's maybe just a shortfall of foresight, perhaps, because by skipping the intro I've not kind of let the battle play out, because the battle is actually happening in the intro to this when you take your damaged units. So this time the general is keeping himself much more alive, which is probably much better. Over here we got the same thing as last time, all of those strong units piling up against the berserkers and some chosen axemen behind, and that is not great. Praetorians though throwing generals straight in the back. That's going to be absolutely brutal because they don't have any armour or shields as we know. But yeah, pretty sure they've thrown it into those axemen. They're getting stuck in the same problem, which is, yes, not charging the cavalry into the rear like that. Unfortunately, yeah, you can't charge your own men there. Not ideal, but better. This is what we wanted to see. General's actually alive. Now, you probably should be doing something, but at the very least, he's not dead this time. You've even got a pincer movement here on these berserkers. That's looking much, much better, but we are going to lose way too many. I do think, yeah, there are mistakes here, just not getting those berserkers dealt with by your cavalry. I think that's really got to be the way. Again, charging for your own men, it's still going to do pretty much the job you need it to, which is nice. Much, much better job on this here occasion. So yeah, this is probably a good time to mention Arminius' trap, since we're about to come upon his trap again. Really, the way this all played out was that it was kind of summer season was coming to a close. This battle was sort of early to mid-September, and there really wasn't enough time to put down the unrest and reach the winter camp. So really the idea that Arminius came up with and convinced Varus to do was to, instead of safely sort of retracing his steps back to the safety of the fort, he said, oh, you should go on another campaign against the angry Varii. And the angry men perhaps should have been the sign that they foresaw, but they did not. So the idea of this from Arminius was that, oh, you know, you can go on and charge on through, deal with the unrest, and also make it to safe camp. Kind of achieve both goals, but obviously what this did was put the Romans deeper into German territory in the short term, and obviously led them straight into the ambush. So yeah, it would be a shorter route, so it kind of made some sense. And I suppose Varus, he wanted to prove that he was a capable military general as well. Maybe it was a very tempting play. And obviously they did trust Arminius, is the thing. He'd been with them for a long time. In some ways I see Arminius, he's kind of got oh, what's his name? Theon, Game of Thrones vibes, you know? He'd been the ward for a long time. It's not quite a ward, it's not quite the same thing. But he'd been a ward for a long time, and, you know, he's now deciding to turn his back and get revenge for many, many, many years ago. Unfortunately, we are seeing the AI getting stuck here again in the same position. I mean, this time they haven't charged into the front of the phalanx. Now do you want to charge? No? Brilliant. You know what? I'm going to tell them to move forward once again, because at the very least they are getting themselves stuck once more. Although they are going to get the general killed against phalanxes. No, they've won on that occasion. Okay, I'm going to take control just for a split moment. Tell them at least to start moving over there. Our numbers are looking okay. We've got about 150, a little bit more than that actually, in terms of our men to make it. But there's Arminius. There is Arminius once more. So let's jump in on this and see how we're getting on. He's running the early legionary cohort. That's unfortunate. The general was in the axeman. Down goes Varus once again. I just jumped into battle at the right time there. He's feeling the carrion birds indeed. Yeah, he needs to be pinning them with the heavy infantry and then slamming with the cav. It's really the only way that you can do it. The cavalry is so important here. It is a bit like the Battle of Carrhae. We'll get to that on another video, of course. But you need the cavalry. You need the cavalry just to utilise. These troops are very heavy. They will hold position, but they've got armour piercing, and ultimately, yeah, these archers I do think could be very effective. I mean, I actually haven't done this battle. I haven't done these historical battles for maybe like 15 years at this point. And I will follow this up with me doing this from the general camera point of view, and we'll see how I do on that occasion. As I say, I haven't done this myself, so it's kind of nice doing this AI-only battle before, just to kind of get a taster for the battle before I try it from the general's viewpoint. But Arminius is going to stand there and get stabbed, perhaps? No. Yes, Varus once again failing to fall under his own sword, make himself unalived, I suppose is the way we're supposed to say it on social media these days. I don't know. There's not enough monetizing to be demonetized or worry about that right now. So let's see if we can finish this off. We still have enough men to technically claim victory. So let's try and push him forward once again and see if they'll managed to at least take out Arminius, the traitorous fool. We finally made a move actually towards the fort, which is nice. The gates are under our control, by the way. And, oh, the Germans jumped out of the trees there. We lost the viewpoint. That was actually Arminius himself taking out the last of the bodyguard. Yes, he died, so we lost that particular position. And there's so many more units in here. They are absolutely screwed. And I think we can probably call it an end here. I mean, ultimately after this battle it would see really the end of the Romans trying to push across the Rhine, or at least not really in any concerted period of time actually controlling east of the Rhine. There would always be little pokes here or there, but the Romans would decide, yes, maybe let's just consolidate west of the Rhine. And Tiberius and Drusus would be sent to go and deal with this. Germanicus likewise would actually gain victory over Arminius in AD 16, a couple of years after Augustus's death, so Augustus wouldn't be alive to see at least that revenge. One chance this archer to kill Arminius. Come on, Archer, you can do it. He's going to go down to the dogs. And fed to the dogs, the Romans here today. A sad, sad day. Yes, I mean, eventually, to be honest, Arminius in part would maybe lose that because they were stuck in the Cherusi civil war, but yeah, Rome's expansion would pretty much get the kicking from this battle here. And yes, Varus, give me back my legions, probably says it all. Lots of experience gained, which tends to happen when you die. General did some good work, but not enough. Legionary cavalry need to do a lot more than that. And well, not a great show there by the AI, but is it going to be any better by me when I start using the general cam? Probably not. But I will leave it here, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this. It's been an interesting little thing to put together. Certainly looking forward to doing more of these, as well as my general camera version of it too. But for now I will leave you. I'm Thomas, this is the Nerds the Human, and this has been an AI only historical battle for Teutoburg Forest. Thank you, and bye bye.
Go, my puppies, go! Hunt down the German dogs. My chariots are complete lunatics. Stop charging into the spears. Stop charging into the spears. Why do these guys not break? Everyone else has fled. Go home. Go home. What is happening at the chariots?